Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining the last Summer Readiness Update call for 2021. It's hard to believe summer's already over. This is Christina Osborne. I'm from ISO Stakeholder Engagement, and I will be facilitating the meeting. We have a few updates for you today. Let me go ahead and jump to the agenda slide. First, Mark Rothletter, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, will provide a recap of the summer readiness effort. Then Neil Miller, Vice President of Infrastructure and Operations Planning, will briefly discuss the clarifications to the Reliability Must-Run Designation Process Initiative. That's a mouthful. And then John Phipps, Executive Director of Grid Operations, will give an update on operations since the last time we met. And then finally, Guillermo Bautista Alderete, Director of Market Analysis and Forecasting, will talk about the enhancements that were implemented to help with grid reliability over the summer. We also have Joanne Serena, who is the new Vice President of Stakeholder Engagement and Customer Experience, and also Delphine Ho, who is the Director of California Regulatory Affairs. There will be an opportunity to ask questions after the presentation, and I will provide instructions at that time on how to raise your hand. I did post a presentation yesterday afternoon. It's available on the Summer Readiness webpage. The link is available on the ISO homepage. And we are recording the call today, and we'll post the video file at that same location probably early next week. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to Mark Rothletter.
Great. Thank you, Christina. And as you mentioned, this Wednesday marked the end of summer, and it's really with some humility that I would like to say that we had a successful summer. We did not have any load shedding events, and we were able to navigate that. And I want to say that there was a tremendous amount of work at the ISO, the California PUC, the CEC, and all our stakeholders did a tremendous amount of work and provided us a tremendous amount of insights and information to help navigate this summer. I say it's with humility because I don't think the summer was as bad as it could have been or as we had expected to be. Certainly the beginning of the summer had some real challenges, but things actually moderated when we got into August and September, and that was very fortunate. But nonetheless, I think we learned a lot. We developed some additional policy changes. We implemented those. We got some additional capacity in and new resources, including the batteries and how we can best utilize those. We developed some additional things that, in terms of transparency and information, that has helped. And we are continuing to work with our neighboring balancing authority areas to ensure that going forward, we maximize reliability, minimize the risk to load shed anywhere to the extent we can. So a lot of things that we learned from this summer will be applied going forward, and that will be some discussions at a later point. But I think this is a good capstone and a good time to kind of congratulate each other and, again, express appreciation for all your engagement in helping us through this summer. And with that, I will turn it back to Christina.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have Neil is going to provide an update on the RMR designation process initiative. Neil, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. And yes, this will also be a relatively brief update. We did want to bring stakeholders' attention to the fact that we have now posted a first draw proposal addressing the issue for requests for clarity around how the ISO addresses must-run designations when faced with an impending retirement of a generating unit. There may be both a local and system requirement out there. The paper was posted on September 22nd, talking about the different issues that need to be taken into account in these decisions. And there is a stakeholder meeting taking place on September 29th, next Wednesday, with the information available on our website. So I just wanted to call stakeholders' attention to that we have been moving forward with that stakeholder initiative on this topic that was raised largely through some of our actions earlier in the year and with some of the approvals that went through with our Board of Governors for reliability must-run designations. That's about it for the update, so thank you, and I'll turn it back.
Great. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate it. Okay, next we have John Phipps, who's going to provide an update on grid operations. So go ahead, John.
Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, everyone. You can go to the, thank you. So on this slide, this is the same basic slide that I brought to you last month, just with some updates to it. Particularly on the State Power Augmentation Project, it has been, as we've moved along with the implementation of this and coordination of it, and we do have it kind of formalized now. It is able to be activated or mobilized in the day-ahead time frame with a trigger in real time when we are in a NERC Energy Emergency Alert 2. You'll see that we didn't actually tie it to our alerts, warnings, and emergency stages. Those are going away next spring, and it was cleaner to just tie this project into the NERC emergency notifications. The other ELRP, CSEP, really, and the RDRR are unchanged from the last time we reviewed this. There is the addition of the California ports on here. There is a effort underway from the state to have them automatically be activated and triggered based on our declarations that Cal OES will monitor and then trigger the ports to reduce their load on the ports. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So this next slide is just kind of a summary of our summer operations. As Mark said, summer did end on Wednesday. And so we know we still have some warm weather coming, but for the summer period, this is a summary of the declarations we made for this year. There were 18 days with restricted maintenance operations, 8 days with flex alerts, 4 alerts, warning, and emergency. So I'm sorry, these are just the warnings, 4 warnings declared. And there was a day with a stage 2 emergency. And then, so our peak load, as Mark mentioned, was milder. The summer of this year was milder overall. And so our peak load, as we can see, was a good 3,100 megawatts lower than last year. And so that was a good thing overall. We were able to manage all the loads and stressful days using all the tools available and all the additional capacity made available and all the help we received from everyone. Was essentially an uneventful summer. We are headed into the the public safety power shutoff and fire season. And so with the dry conditions and the winds that we usually see in the fall, traditionally and historically, we've seen more fires and PSPS events. So we don't want to ease up quite yet, but we realize the loads may be lower, but we may have threats to the bulk electric system from nature. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, John. And we have one more update from Guillermo, and this is related to the enhancements that we implemented to help with summer grid reliability. So, Guillermo, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, everyone. Regarding the summer enhancements and the market performance through the summer, I have a couple of updates. The first one is that on August 4th, we implemented the last part of the summer enhancements, and that is related to the load, exports, and wheel scheduling priorities. All other enhancements were put into the systems in the previous months, mainly from between May and July. Some of those features are in place all the time. Others are triggered based on specific events or conditions. This table summarizes all the enhancements as provided through the July performance report. The update in this case is that we have already implemented the August 4th load and scheduling priorities. And that brings me to the second item. We continue to assess the performance of these enhancements, including the latest one, that is the scheduling priorities for load, exports, and wheels. Similar to the previous months of June and July, next week we will be posting the summer performance report for the month of August. And a week after, we are going to hold our regular call to discuss the main findings for that month. I look forward to your participation in that call so that we can go into the details of the summer performance for the month of August. And that's my update, Christina.
Great, thank you, Guillermo. Okay, so those are all the updates we have for the call. So we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. So if you logged into the web, you can raise your hand by selecting the hand icon above the chat window. If you dialed in only, you can press #2 on your phone, and then that will place you in the queue. And Carice, let me know if anybody enters the queue. I do see a chat question as well. Feel free to send your questions in the chat. Just give it a moment. So I'll go ahead and read off the chat question, and we'll see if anybody enters the queue. So this is from Dan Williams, CES. Does the ISO have any takeaways at this point on the performance of the Order 831 enhancements, specifically the maximum import bid price calculation and trigger for the increased offer cap and penalty price, and or the power balance constraint violation thresholds for the CAISO and EIM BAAs? If not, is this something that we can bring to the next MPPF?
Yes, this is Guillermo. I think that is a good topic to cover in the upcoming MPPF. I think the monthly reports that we have put for the summer naturally focus on the summer conditions, and the timing of the 831 is quite overlapping in terms of the summer conditions as well. But given the nature of the topic, I think we can have a dedicated discussion in the next MPPF for this specific item.
Thank you. And I noted your question, Dan, so I'll make sure that I send that to Guillermo and team. All right. Do we have anybody in the queue?
We have no one in the verbal queue at this time.
Okay. Well, I know that Joanne Serena had something that she wanted to bring up with the group. So Joanne, go ahead. And just a reminder to unmute your phone.
Thank you, Christina. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to add a few points based on what Mark mentioned, and certainly want to echo our appreciation to everybody through all the efforts this summer. This will be the last call of the Summer Readiness Update Series. We were holding this call every month throughout the summer, and so this will be the last call of the series. Of course, if we feel the need to, we can always ramp up these calls again, and we'll probably do something very similar going into next summer. As Mark mentioned, the summer period is officially over, but we do want to remain vigilant. As John mentioned, we're entering into the PSPS period and fire season, and we also are entering into outage season. So we're definitely not out of the woods yet. There's always something going on in grid operations, and we want to remain vigilant to ensure we can maintain reliability. But I did want to thank everyone for the support throughout the summer. I believe that all of the extra communication and coordination efforts that we did with all of you throughout the summer really paid off and really helped in terms of the overall communication as things unfolded throughout the summer. So it was a great joint effort by everybody, and just want to reiterate the thanks to everyone for your support and collaboration throughout. And hope everyone has a happy fall, and that we continue with this momentum. Thanks, Christina.
Great. Thank you, Joanne. So it looks like we do have a caller in the queue, so we'll go ahead and open up their phone line.
Hi, this is Alan Meck from SDG&E. I don't know if this is the right place to raise this, but I noticed that there were 8 flex alerts called, and I'm wondering if you noticed a lack of response on the flex alerts, if the loads were coming in less than you expected, because maybe this was just for me, something went wrong, but I think I was disenrolled from the flex alerts, and so maybe something went wrong with your list, and I had to re-enroll because I only ended up getting, I think, maybe 1 or 2 notifications this year.
Hi, this is Guillermo. I can answer partially this question. We do track the flex alert, the conservation of that may be driven by the flex alerts. There is a specific component that we have been estimating and putting forward in the monthly performance report. So we did that for the month of June and for the month of July. In the month of August, as far as I recall, we didn't have any flex alerts, so there is nothing to report for that month. And we are going to be reporting as well the energy savings and conservation that we saw for the flex alerts of September 8 and 9 when the time comes for the monthly report. So yes, we are tracking that. I think it's hard to define what the expectation of the conservation should be given all the dynamics that may happen in the real time, but we do track that. And as far as I recall, I think at least for July, the maximum conservation that we saw in a given hour was in the range of 900 megawatts. So we do see the effect of that flex alert in the system.
Okay, but you wouldn't really have any good way of tracking whether something might have gone wrong with your email service list, your email blast.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Guillermo.
Oh, sorry, I wanted to see if there was anybody else able to comment on that.
Yeah, I can comment on that. This is Joanne. So we didn't do any modification to our Flex Alert notification list for the Flex Alerts itself. We did clean up our alerts, warnings, and emergency distribution list, and a Flex Alert does go out through that channel as well. So if you maybe were mistakenly removed from that, please reach out to us and we'll remedy that. But there is a way to subscribe, right, to the Flex Alerts that come out through our app and our website. So we can remedy that if you were sort of removed mistakenly. We did do a cleanup, I said, of the alerts, warnings, and emergencies distribution.
Okay. Yeah, I probably got removed somehow in that process then. I just went and re-enrolled.
Okay.
So it's not a thing, but it's something to maybe note for the next time that you have to do that.
Yep, noted. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Yeah, and to Guillermo's point, the performance reports do have some estimations in there of conservation numbers. So you should be able to find those helpful if you look at those performance reports.
Thank you, Alan. All right, Chris, do we have anybody else in the queue? I don't see any hands raised. Just want to make sure there's nobody who had a question via audio.
I do not see any more hands in the queue.
We did receive another chat question from Scott Olson asking if ISO will continue to request CPM offers into October.
It's Neil. I could take that. And yes, we did send a market notice out, I believe about a week ago, just reminding people that we are open to CPM offers through October as well. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Neil. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions, Scott. Again, if you have a question you want to ask it verbally, you can press that hand icon above the chat window, or if you're just on the phone, press #2 on your telephone keypad. But I have a couple of slides that I want to cover. I do want to remind everybody that the ISO is hosting an extended day-ahead forum on October 13th. This is where utility executives, policymakers, and stakeholders from across the West will discuss challenges and opportunities with taking the next step in optimizing the functionality of the Western Energy Imbalance Market and expanding on economic efficiencies for the West. So this is a free virtual event. We are asking for stakeholders to register. We've received 300 so far, so there's a lot of interest. So if you are interested, we're taking registrations up to October 12th. The link on this slide, to go to this link, it will actually take you to the EDAM forum webpage. So you'll find the registration link there as well as other related information. We are planning to post the agenda, a draft of the agenda next week. This will, including bios of the confirmed speakers, and so we are planning to issue a notice with those details after we post the agenda. So look for that next week. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always reach out to ISO Stakeholder Affairs if you need assistance with registration or have questions about the event. We'll be happy to help you. And then just one other reminder, the ISO does now publishes a blog that provides timely information for related to the ISO grid and market operations, as well as other industry-related news. So I've included an example of a recent blog that highlights the large amount of storage capacity that's been added to the grid over this past year. And so if you are, if you're interested, you can receive a summary of the blogs each month. I provided a link to subscribe to receive that summary, and there's also a link to the blog here. So let me just check to see if there's anybody who has a question about any of the information that we covered today or about the EDAM forum. Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you all so much for your participation in this call. We really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to your participation in EDAM forum. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your weekend.